Hello Cinnamon Buns. So today I'm talking about Scrivener. It's a big writing program that you've probably heard of. I've been using Scrivener since 2010, so 7 years. Can you believe that? Scrivener is definitely my favourite word processor. I use it for writing my novels, organising all that stuff. I use it for blog posts and organisation, and I even used it to write essays back when I was studying in university. So without further ado, let's scooch over to my screen and go have a look. Hello there, look, this is my screen. We're on my screen now. So this is the first time I've done a screen recording, so let's see how that goes. Here we are in Scrivener. I actually have two projects for North of the End. I recently got the mobile app of Scrivener for my iPhone. It was really great through NaNoWriMo because it meant I could write anywhere, but the problem is when you sync one project between the iPhone and your laptop or whatever, I had, a really huge project full of research, full of images and web pages and all that sort. That was really annoying to sync to my phone, and it took ages and my phone couldn't really handle it. So what I did was I separated North of the End project into two projects. So this one, which is the research and sort of resources and all that kind of stuff, everything which isn't my manuscript, and then I have a different project for my manuscript, which is over here. And then I just synced the manuscript one so that I could write, but I didn't need all the research on my phone as well. So that's a long-winded way of saying I've got two projects, but you probably only need one if you're just using the desktop version of Scrivener. Yeah, I'm just going to get started. So this is going to be a little bit of a tour of the way I set things up in Scrivener. It's not really a Scrivener tutorial. It's not like this is definitely the best way you should organise things. This is what I'm doing at the moment. I'm always refining it. I'm always making it better. But this is how I organise things right now, and these are the kind of features that I'm using the most. So this is my research project, North of the End, research, everything else. So I've got the first draft in here just for somewhere to keep it. This is my Codex. So this is where I keep everything related to my story. So what some people call their story Bible. So whatever format that's in, if it's a ring binder full of notes or just a notebook or whatever, I tend to call that my Codex. I don't really know why, I just kind of like the word and it kind of stuck, and I'm not Christian, so Bible seemed a bit odd. So this is my story Codex. This part actually is just housing my characters and plot things, and I'll show you what's in everything else in a second. But basically each of these is a character. You can actually see they've got notes next to them of their ethnicities, because I was trying to pay a bit of attention to that and make sure that not everyone was going to be white. So that was the easiest place to do that. So Parker Byrne, so her motive is in just this file here, and then she's got her conflict, and then she's got her effects. And obviously, if you're familiar with my videos and Preptober and how to build a novel, then you're going to be familiar with what those are. And then they also have a mood board. Not everyone has a mood board, but some of the bigger ones do. And this is where I basically collect snippets and pictures and all sorts of things relating to that character, to try and give me more of a visual sort of image of what they're like, and how they act and what they dress like and what kind of things they're into. As you can see, for Parker, I've just got a ton of pictures of what's her name again? Lily Collins, because she's my sort of like casting for Parker, and so I've got a lot of pictures collected of her. I've got Tiny Owl Knits because that's a knitting website that Parker would be into. I've got some just like character notes and quotes and things like that. So yeah, so that's how I organise my characters. Everyone gets, so they've got, motive in here, conflict, effect, and a mood board. Let's have a look at Aaron's mood board, it's maybe a bit more interesting. Some photos, quotes from Tumblr, of course, some tapestry and things, because that's kind of Aaron's deal. So that's how I do characters. So that's my main codex, are my characters, because that kind of encapsulates everyone's subplot, or everyone's plot. So, motive, conflict, effect, like between all that is going to be what's going to happen to them. And then everything else. So this is basically the rest of my codex. And so I've got my sort of useful documents here. So workflow is that's something from a Holly Lyle course, which is a revision sort of workflow, which I didn't end up using a whole ton, in NaNoWriMo because I ended up basically rewriting everything, but I'm definitely going to be modifying and using this workflow for the revision of the draft that I did in NaNoWriMo. Outstanding issues is where I collect all the problems that I don't have a solution for yet. So I've just got a little sort of abbreviation of the problem and then I explain it. And when I find a solution for it and I incorporate it into my outline, or if I change it in the actual manuscript, then it gets scored off. Laundry list is another of Holly Lyle's sort of techniques that I learned from one of her courses, and it's just kind of like a place where you collect everything that you want to keep consistent. My workbook is literally just a place for me to free write and muck about. It's a place for me to brainstorm basically, and I do keep all of it, even though there's tons of it and a lot of it is just absolute crap. But once I get to the answer, then I'll copy it into the relevant place. But that's just kind of like a scratch pad. Limitless, this is just I needed a reference for, I knew I wanted one of my characters to be wearing a Limitless t-shirt for the movie, and I needed like a reference, so I just stuck it in there. Death of Glasgow outline. This is just a place for me to outline specifically one part of my book that needed a bit more structure, and maybe to look at it as its own subplot and then incorporate it into the main plot. Okay, and then I've got my world codex. So this is basically all of my world building. It doesn't look like a lot here, but there's a lot of crap in here. So location.index is just a really short description of every setting in my book. Physics.index is a record of all my kind of story physics. So anything that's fantasy or sci-fi, or like, you know, the rules of how the story works and the world in which it works, world building basically, that all goes in there. I'm not going to open it because it's full of spoilers, but you get the idea. Research, just a bunch more stuff. So I've got some mythology, lots of imported Wikipedia pages. Places is where I collect some images of settings I might like to use or be inspired by. I've got some research on small Scottish towns and things like that, so that's that area. Style Codex is where I keep everything to do with stylistic decisions for the book. So names of characters, that's where I have a bank of names which all kind of fit the North of the End vibe. So if I need a new character, that's where I go. I've got Gaelic pronunciations of words because they're kind of important in this book. Some notes about introducing characters and good ways to do that from an article. I've basically got everything decided for style for North of the End, but if I hadn't, then this is where it would go. So, you know, point of view, style of narration, that sort of thing, even like pronouns, like stylistic decisions, all that goes in here. And then I've just got storage, which is like basically things which were useful and that I did and I want to keep, but I don't really need them right now, so I'm getting them out of the way. So that's all the notes from my last revision. You know, I read through my manuscript and made all these notes on it, and I used those to inform my new outline, which is what I used in NaNoWriMo. Tales of Elsewhere were going to be some short stories which went along with North of the End. So that's that. Let's get on to the draft, because that's more fun, I think. So here we are in my draft manuscript project, and the first thing you'll notice is that I've got a bunch of folders which are my chapters, and I actually think chapters are really important, not just for the reader and the end product of your book, but actually for breaking it up for you to write it. So like if you know you've got 19 chapters, then it's a lot more motivating to finish chapter 4 and get that down and work your way through it like that. It feels a lot more achievable than just like, oh, I have to write an entire novel. And within these, you've just got a bunch of scenes. My scenes are numbered so that I can find them easily, and so they connect with the paper card outline that I have, so I can figure out which scene is which, if that makes sense. Some of them have little descriptions as well, so that I can quickly see what happens in that scene. So let's just get into one of these and have a look. There's one specific one, I think. Cool, so this is just my text, and I'll show you what I have in the inspector here. So in the inspector you have your title and synopsis. If I was going to outline digitally, this is where I would do it. That's the equivalent of your card, but obviously I've got paper cards, so nothing really goes in there. I'll come back to metadata in a moment. And you might notice that my document notes are pretty snazzy. I actually love the document notes feature. It's one of my favourites because it's so handy. Any notes or things I want to include in the scene I can put there, and they're just there for reference. So I've got a wee song, I've got some blocking out of the scene beat by beat, and I really struggled with the setting for this scene, so I went and looked things up, did some research, and I can paste those images straight into these notes, which is amazing. I could also paste links to articles or anything like that here, you know, like snippets from like research or historical things. I love this section, it's awesome and I use it a lot, and I'm going to continue to use it a lot, so I definitely recommend using that. So project targets and statistics give you your word count. I'll just get rid of this for ease. So as you can see, this is my draft target, which I achieved in November, 51,000 words, 942. But because this is a second draft, even though I was rewriting it, I had scenes in here which are from my first draft. So I needed a way to not count those in this word count, because otherwise that would be cheating. So what I did was, so this draft target is determined by what is set to compile in here. So you probably know of compile already. It's when you can compile your manuscript into a bunch of different things. You know, you can do a standard manuscript, or you know, an ebook, and all sorts. So what is included in here is what is going to affect what shows up in here. So what I did was, so these grey labelled sections are things that I wrote beforehand. I'll just go back into this, actually, I figured out I need it. And so this label, this grey label, is exclude word count, which is a label I created. And it's just a visual cue for me so that I know that this needs to uncheck this box. So this box is include and compile. It's automatically checked, but for these grey ones where I need to exclude the word count, I've just checked it, unchecked it even. And that is how I managed to only track the words that I've written in November. Because you'll see, I've got this marker here, which is the start of Nano. Everything before that is grey, and there are sort of like random grey scenes pushed in here where, you know, the scene that I wrote in the first draft was fine, so I've put it in, but I'm not counting it. So that's how I did that. That's a really awesome, versatile way to do things in a way that you obviously couldn't do in Word or something like that. This is like something that you can only do really because Scrivener is has so many complicated and useful metadata features. Oh yeah, something I should have showed you actually when I was showing you my research. The shortcut for importing a web page is Command-Alt-W. And as you can see, you could just paste the web page in there, title it, and it automatically pops up here, which is amazing. You can also do it manually, but the shortcut I find is really, really useful because I end up actually putting a lot of Wikipedia pages. So yeah, import web page, and that's the shortcut there. If you're on Windows, obviously that'll be different. And lastly, I guess I'm just going to show you Compose. So I wonder, so Compose is a feature that I think a lot of people like about Scrivener, and I really like it because, you know, it clears everything else away, and I like that you can change sort of the width and stuff of things, because changing the font and format and spacing and width and margins and everything of your writing is a good way to defamiliarize yourself with it, so it's easier to see it with fresh eyes, I guess, when you're revising and stuff. So I really like that. Okay, well that's everything I had to show you for now, so I'm just going to head back to face-to-face. And we're back! So I hope that was helpful in some way, just kind of seeing the way that I use Scrivener. If you're a writer and you don't already have Scrivener, I definitely highly recommend it. Like I said, I've been using it for 7 years and I still have no issues with it. It's still my go-to, and I use it like most weeks, most days, every week. And there's now also a mobile version which you can download for iOS. I don't think there's one for Android and things, but if you have an iPhone, oh my god, it's so good. Like I think I've mentioned before, I've used it for NaNoWriMo last year. Oh my god, it was last year. I'm like, oh, it's only a few days ago, but it was last year. It was so handy to just have my book on my phone, and I loved it. I think I paid like £30 for Scrivener, and I think that's about $40 or something like that. And given how much I've used it, which is all the time for 7 years, it's like a really good deal, and I definitely recommend it to people. So if you're interested in that, there's going to be a link for that below. So that's it for today's cinnamon buns. If you enjoyed this video or found it useful, please give it a like because it really helps me out. And if you'd like to see my face again sometime in the future and not lose me to the infinite void of YouTube, then probably hit subscribe as well. Okay, bye! Could you just lie down and be cool, like a cool person? I can't believe this is my first video since Preptober and NaNoWriMo, and it's now January 2017. Who saw that coming? I mean, I guess I've on my calendar, but still.